Danylo Lavrentiyovych Shumuk, Ukrainian. Last name pronounced Shumuk. B. December 30, 1914 in village Boremschyna, Russian Empire, now in Volyn Oblast, Ukraine. D. The 21st of May 2004 in Krasnoarmiisk, Ukraine. Was a Ukrainian political activist who served a total of 42 years imprisoned by 3 different states: Second Polish Republic, Nazi Germany and Soviet Union. Living in the Second Polish Republic in 1918 in what now is Western Ukraine. The Ukrainian forces fought in the Polish-Ukrainian War, but the Ukrainians in Galicia were alienated after what they saw as a compromise in the Paris Peace Conference with Poland. The Ukrainian People's Republic delegation could not gain recognition at the Treaty of Versailles. At the end of the World War, the representatives of the exiled government of the Ukrainian People's Republic fared poorly during Polish-Soviet War, where they formed a late alliance with Poland and supported the latter's unsuccessful Kiev offensive. According to the Peace of Riga, which ended the war, the combined territories of the Ukrainian and West Ukrainian People's Republics ended up split again between the Ukrainian SSR in the east and Poland in the west, Galicia and part of Volhynia. The ethnic policies in the interwar Poland were directed towards the Polonization and cultural assimilation of ethnic minorities. Contrary to the international obligation, Poland had to grant autonomy to ethnic Ukrainian territories. The tensions between Poles and Ukrainians increased in such a political environment. Danilo began his struggle against Polish control and cultural assimilation of this area when he was 17 years old. In 1933, he was arrested by Polish police 4 times and detained for a short terms. In 1934, he was arrested by the Polish police and held in jail in Kovel until he was sentenced in 1935 to an 8-year term for his role in the underground Communist Party of Western Ukraine. He served his term in a prison in Lomza. In 1938, under an amnesty for political prisoners, his sentence was reduced by a third. In the spring of the following year, he was transferred to a jail in Białystok, and on May 24, 1939, he was released, living under Soviet government. On 23 August 1939, the Soviet Union signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Nazi Germany. The two governments announced the agreement merely as a non-aggression treaty. A secret appendix to the pact outlined the plan to divide Poland and Eastern Europe into Soviet and German spheres of influence. Initially, the Soviet rule gained much support of the non-Polish population, largely alienated by the nationalist policies of the Second Polish Republic. Much of the Ukrainian population initially welcomed the Soviet occupation, hoping for unification with the rest of Ukraine, which fell to Bolshevik forces forming the Ukrainian SSR, a constituent republic of the Soviet Union, in 1919. During the round of repressions that followed the Soviet takeover, Danilo's older brother Anton, who worked for the Polish National Railway, was arrested as an enemy of the people. Quote, on 15 May 1941, the Soviet authorities forced Danylo Shumuk to join a work camp as a brother of an enemy of the people. Such treatment did not make Danylo lose faith in the benevolence of communists. When Germany attacked the Soviet Union, the work camps were transformed into Red Army penal military units, which were usually given the most dangerous assignments and were considered expendable. Living under German occupation, Danylo Shumuk and his penal battalion never received military training, proper equipment and few weapons. They were forced to attack German tanks unarmed while screaming for Stalin. Quote, to prevent desertion, communist political officers aimed machine guns at their backs and shot anyone unwilling to charge the advancing tanks. Yet Danylo's deep belief in communism never wavered even after thousands of his comrades died around him, miserably failing to penetrate the 8-centimeter thick armor of the German panzer tanks, possessing only their fingernails as weapons. Danylo Shumuk, along with 600,000 other soldiers, were captured by the Germans on the Kiev front. Danylo was kept in a POW camp in the town of Korol in the Poltava Oblast. He described the German POW camp as a pit of death with prisoners dying like flies from hunger, exposure and epidemics. On a cold rainy night he escaped along with 3 other prisoners. During his travels he learned from Ukrainian villagers about the artificial famine, now known as Holodomor genocide, perpetrated by communists and responsible for close to 10 million deaths from starvation. His deep love of communism faded and he began to describe communism as an abomination. Danylo Shumuk credits Ukrainian farmers who lived through the communist genocide with clearing my mind of the opium of communist ideology and opening my eyes. Single quote. In 1943, Danylo joined the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, UPA, understanding that Ukrainian struggle for independence was doomed, since the forces involved were unequal. A two-front war against Germany and the Soviet Union could not be won. He stated later that he considered it my duty to fight to the end. In February 1945, Danylo Shumuk was captured by the NKVD and sentenced to death, which was commuted to 20 years of hard labor, living under Ukrainian SSR government. In 1953, when Stalin died, Shumuk was one of the leaders of prison revolt called the Norilsk Uprising. Outbreaks like these throughout the Gulag led to a wide-ranging release of prisoners. In the 1970s, Shumuk shared a prison cell with Eduard Kuznetsov for 5 years. When Andrei Sakharov accepted his Nobel Peace Prize in 1975, he said, "Here in this hall I should just like to mention the names of some of the internees I am acquainted with. As you were told yesterday, I would ask you to remember that all prisoners of conscience and all political prisoners in my country share with me the honor of the Nobel Prize. Here are some of the names that are known to me: Plyush, Bukovsky, Glusman, Moroz, Maria Semyonovova, Nadezhda Svetlishnaya, Stefania Shabatora, Irina Kalinets-Stasov, Irina Senik, Neola Sadurnite, Anna Karapetian, Osipov, Kronos Lubarsky, Shumuk, Van, Rumashek, Karstov, Superfin, Paulitis, Simutus, Karavansky, Valery, Marchenko, Shuchevich, Pavlenkov, Chernoglas, Abankan, Suslensky, Meshina, Svetlishny, Sofronov, Rode, Shakirov, Heifetz, Afanashev, Mochun, Butman, Lukyanenko, Ogatsov, Sergeyenko, Antoniuk, Lupinos, Rubin, Plichotnaruk, Kovga, Belov, Igranov, Soldatov, Myatik, Kirand, Jushkevich, Zadorov E, Tofemajan, Shachjan, Zagrobian, Arikian, Markoshan, Arshukian, Maraskas, Stus, Svestiuk, Chandiba, Uboshko, Romaniuk, Vorobyov, Gel, Prinjuk, Gladko, Malchevsky, Grazis, Prishlyak, Saplyak, Kolonets, Supri, Valdman, Demidov, Bernatshuk, Shovkovy, Gorbatyov, Birchov, Turek, Zilyukauskas, Bolonkin, Lisovoy, Petrov, Chekolin, Gorodetsky, Chernivol, Balakanov, Bonda, Kalantchenko, Koloman, Plumper, Jaugelis, Fedoseyev, Osadchij, Budulik Sharajan, Makarenko, Malkin, Stern, Lazar-Liabarsky, Feldman, Roydbert, Shkolnik, Mertsenko, Fedorov, Dimsitz, Kuznetsov, Mendelevich, Altman, Pensin, Nock, Wolf Zalmanson, Israel Zalmanson, and many, many others, living in exile to Canada. In 1987, having spent a total of 42 years in Soviet and Polish prisons, a Nazi POW camp, Soviet penal colonies and a forced exile, Shumuk was allowed to leave the country. He moved to Toronto, Canada, where his memoirs Life Sentence, Memoirs of a Ukrainian Political Prisoner were published in English by the Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Studies. 1984. Living in an independent Ukraine. On 28 November 2002, he returned to Ukraine, independent by then, and moved to Krasnoarmiisk of the Donetsk Oblast province, in the east of Ukraine. He died there on 21 May 2004 at the age of 89. Works by Danylo Shumuk. Life Sentence. Memoirs of a Ukrainian Political Prisoner. Canadian Institute of Ukrainian Study. 1984. 401 pp. ISBN 978-0-920862-17-9. Zarchidnam O'Brien. Beyond the Eastern Horizon. Paris. Baltimore. Smollerskype. 1974. 447 pp. Obituary. 1974 HTML.